Jaime comes home hungry every day. For someone who leaves with a bag full of food, it's odd for Jaime to starve throughout the day. At first, his parents don't know why, because they always make enough food for Jaime. The young boy wants to keep the reason why he is always hungry. They try to engage him in conversations during dinner, hoping he would open up, but Jaime remains tight-lipped, staring at his plate as if it holds the secrets of the universe. His parents exchange worried glances, feeling a growing sense of helplessness. Despite their best efforts to create a warm and welcoming atmosphere, Jaime seems distant, lost in his own world of silent struggles. They wonder if there's something they're missing, some hidden clue that could unlock the mystery of their son's behavior. Jaime's appetite dwindles with each passing day, and his once vibrant personality dims like a flickering candle in the wind. His parents watch with aching hearts as their energetic child retreats into himself, a shadow of the boy he used to be. They long to reach out, to bridge the growing chasm between them, but they're met with an impenetrable wall of silence. Their concern deepens, a gnawing fear taking root in their hearts as they grapple with the unknown. The classmates told the parents and the principal that Jaime said he never got food from home. They just thought he was very poor. Jaime's parents were confused. Both have decent, well-paying jobs that could support Jaime and his siblings' future. They are not that wealthy, but they are most definitely not poor. How can he ever say that? The couple kept wondering why. They racked their brains, trying to understand what could have led Jaime to make such a distressing claim. Was it a cry for attention? A misguided attempt to fit in with his peers? Or perhaps there was a kernel of truth buried beneath his words, a hidden struggle they had failed to recognize until now. Doubt gnaws at them, mingling with their parental instincts, leaving them feeling adrift in a sea of uncertainty. They cling to each other for support, united in their determination to uncover the truth and set things right for their son. Every interaction with Jaime now carries an undercurrent of worry, a silent plea for him to break his silence and let them in. They tread carefully, mindful of his fragile emotional state, but their hearts ache with the weight of unspoken words. They long to wrap him in their arms, to shield him from whatever darkness haunts his days. But first, they must unravel the mystery that threatens to tear him apart. Jaime was asked to come in as well. The principal thought it would be best to devise a solution. He instantly started crying when they opened up about the food. But something weird happened, and Jaime still felt uncomfortable talking about what was happening. He did not want to share anything, even though he was pressured to speak up. Jaime's parents were devastated. Their anguish deepens as they watch Jaime struggle to articulate his feelings, his silence a heavy barrier between them. They ache to ease his burden, to banish the shadows that linger in his eyes, but their efforts seem futile in the face of his stubborn silence. The principal's tears mirror their own, a shared lament for the innocence lost, for the pain their son carries in silence. They cling to each other, drawing strength from their shared resolve to protect their son at any cost. But the road ahead seems fraught with obstacles, each more daunting than the last. They steel themselves for the battle ahead, determined to unearth the truth and confront whatever darkness lies hidden in the shadows. For Jaime's sake, they will not rest until the light pierces the darkness, until their son's smile once again lights up the room. Then one of his teachers got called in, who had something very interesting to share. She was a petite teacher in her mid-40s. She was Jaime's homeroom teacher from last year. Recently, a substitute teacher named Callum had started who acted really suspiciously around Jaime. This could be the one who did something for Jaime to give up his daily lunch. But what is his motive? Her words hang heavy in the air, casting a pall over the room as they grapple with the implications of her revelation. They had placed their trust in the school, in the teachers who guided their son's steps, only to be confronted with a betrayal that cuts deeper than they ever imagined. Their minds race, piecing together fragments of memory, searching for any sign they might have missed, any warning that could have spared Jaime from this ordeal. Doubt gnaws at them, a relentless foe that refuses to be vanquished. They cast wary glances at each other, their faith shaken to its core as they confront the harsh reality of their son's suffering. Questions swirl in their minds, each more terrifying than the last, as they grapple with the unthinkable truth that their son's tormentor lurks among those they trusted most. But amidst the turmoil, a flicker of determination ignites within them, a resolve to confront this evil head-on and protect their son from further harm. Their eyes meet, a silent pledge passing between them as they steel themselves for the battle ahead. For Jaime's sake, they will not falter, will not waver in their quest for justice. They stand united, a bulwark against the darkness that threatens to engulf their son, determined to reclaim his stolen innocence and restore the light to his weary eyes. The substitute teacher was called in. Upon entering the principal's office, he immediately changed his attitude when he saw Jaime and his parents. From his demure aura, he seemed to switch into a totally different person. He got confronted with the story. He told them he had no idea what they were talking about. However, this wasn't convincing at all to any of them. Why did the substitute teacher's face change when he saw Jaime and his parents? Why did he turn pale all of a sudden? He looked so stiff and uncomfortable the moment he entered the headmaster's office. What could this mean? Everyone was so confused and jittery that no one could even say a word. The tension in the room was palpable, each second stretching into an eternity as they waited for some semblance of truth to emerge. Jaime's parents exchanged uneasy glances, their hearts heavy with apprehension, while the substitute teacher fidgeted under their scrutiny, his eyes darting nervously around the room. It was a standoff, a battle of wills cloaked in an uneasy silence, as they waited for the first crack to appear in the facade of denial. The principal wanted to act civil and spoke privately with the substitute teacher. He explained in detail Jaime's parents' concerns and what also bothered him as the school head. The teacher kept denying that he was involved. The headmaster needed to be convinced, but he knew he needed to be professional most, especially at times like this. In the meantime, another teacher came to comfort the parents. The couple was delighted with the presence of the teacher. He definitely knew something was up with the substitute teacher as well, so he made sure not to miss this opportunity to talk to them. Jaime's parents had to take action. The weight of uncertainty hangs heavy in the air as they grapple with the tangled web of lies and deceit that threatens to engulf them. Each new revelation adds another layer of complexity to an already convoluted situation, leaving them feeling adrift in a sea of doubt and suspicion. But amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope flickers to life, a beacon of light in the darkness that guides them forward on their quest for justice. They got called back into the principal's office. The old man's face turned blank as if he had no words to share to console the family. He sighed and shared that he could not do anything due to unfortunate events because they had not enough evidence. It was evident that the headmaster himself felt miserable with his decision. To the dismay of the little boy's parents, they had no choice but to stay quiet and accept that they couldn't do anything anymore. Jaime still did not want to tell them anything, and the teacher did not give them any reason. However, the headmaster and parents didn't want to give up. They had to come up with a different plan to catch him. As they leave the principal's office, a sense of defeat weighs heavily upon them, their steps slow and heavy with the burden of unfulfilled justice. But beneath the surface, a simmering anger stirs, a determination to right the wrongs that have been done. They may have been thwarted this time, but they refuse to let the substitute teacher's actions go unpunished. With renewed resolve, they set their sights on a new plan of action, determined to bring him to justice by any means necessary. Over the next few days, Jaime kept coming home without talking to his parents. They still felt that their visit to the school did not help at all. They had no clue what they had to do yet. They were so bothered, however, they were determined to ensure the substitute teacher would pay for it. They knew they needed to come up with a plan. However, they needed help figuring out how to go about their first steps. They knew they had to plan it accordingly so that no one would be suspicious of it. It was more challenging than they thought it would be, but they were optimistic about this. They were certain of one thing. They needed to find out what the substitute teacher was up to. In the quiet moments of the evening, they huddled together, their minds racing with possibilities as they brainstorm a strategy to expose the substitute teacher's misdeeds. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the wind outside serves as a reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows, urging them to tread carefully as they navigate the treacherous waters ahead. But despite the risks, they press forward, fueled by a fierce determination to protect their son and bring his tormentor to justice. Jaime's father, Thomas, had enough of it the next day and decided to confront the substitute teacher Callum by himself. He planned his next steps thoroughly. When he felt that it was time, he grabbed his coat and drove to school. After class, he entered the classroom. Callum was extremely surprised when Thomas entered. It was undeniable that the look on the substitute teacher's face dramatically changed upon seeing Jaime's father. What could his reasons be? He was totally in distress and caught off guard. His anxiety level shot up and his hands shook nonstop. What was happening? Why did he feel that he was being attacked? It was a feeling he loathed. The tension in the room was palpable, a silent battle of wills unfolding between the two men as they squared off, each sizing the other up with wary eyes. Thomas's heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing with 1,000 questions, but he held his ground, refusing to be intimidated by the substitute teacher's facade of calm. He took a deep breath and confidently told Thomas it wasn't what it looked like. He added that they needed to believe him as it was, for the benefit of everyone. The substitute teacher seemed truly sincere. Thomas listened intently, his brow furrowed in concentration as he weighed Callum's words. Despite the sincerity in the substitute teacher's voice, doubts gnawed at Thomas's mind, a nagging sense of unease that refused to be silenced. He searched Callum's face for any sign of deception, any hint of the truth hidden beneath his carefully crafted facade. Callum's demeanor, though seemingly genuine, did little to assuage Thomas's growing suspicions. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than meets the eye, that beneath Callum's smooth exterior lay a web of deceit waiting to ensnare them all. With each passing moment, Thomas's resolve hardened, a steely determination taking root within him to uncover the truth at any cost. The conversation with Callum set off some alarm bells in Thomas's head. It wasn't even that the teacher said anything particularly worrying, but he was just getting a strange vibe from him. He couldn't get it off his mind. As Thomas drove home, his thoughts raced like a runaway train, each new revelation sending shockwaves through his already frayed nerves. His grip on the steering wheel tightened, knuckles turning white with the force of his anxiety as he struggled to make sense of the tangled web of deceit that threatened to engulf his family. Doubts and suspicions swirled in his mind, a relentless storm that battered against the shores of his sanity. He replayed the conversation with Callum over and over again, searching for hidden meanings, subtle clues that might reveal the truth lurking just beyond his grasp. But the answers remained elusive, taunting him with their elusiveness as he grappled with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. With each passing mile, the weight of his burden grew heavier, a suffocating pressure that threatened to crush him beneath its unbearable weight. But amidst the darkness, a flicker of determination ignited within him, a resolve to see justice served and his family's honor restored. He would not rest until the truth was uncovered, and those responsible held to account for their actions. Callum just kept telling Thomas not to worry about it and that everything was perfectly fine with Jaime. But Thomas knew in his heart that this wasn't true, He drove home extremely concerned. The conversation hadn't done anything to make him feel better, and in fact, he felt even worse. His mind churns with unanswered questions, doubts swirling like a tempest in his mind, as he struggles to find the strength to confront the darkness that threatens to consume his family. With each passing moment, the divide between truth and deception grows wider, a gaping chasm that threatens to swallow them whole. But Thomas refuses to surrender to despair, his determination burning bright against the encroaching darkness. For Jaime's sake, he will not rest until the truth is brought to light and justice is served. Now Thomas was even more worried. What the hell was this teacher doing to his little boy? It was too much. During dinner, Thomas straight up asked Jaime if something was going on with his teacher that he needed to know about. He wanted to see his reaction when he talked about Callum, and he was unhappy with the result. They were all stunned to see the reaction on Jaime's face. Everyone froze and couldn't utter a single word. What was happening to Jaime? Something was definitely up, as it was the first time for Jaime to act like this. Jaime's eyes darted nervously around the room, avoiding his father's gaze as if afraid of what he might find there. Jaime seemed almost frightened a bit when Tomas asked him this. He stuttered that nothing was happening and that his dad had nothing to worry about. But he was definitely not convinced. In fact, now he was even more certain that something was going on, and he wanted to know what it was. Jaime's parents exchanged worried glances, their hearts heavy with the weight of unspoken fears. They longed to reach out, to comfort their son in his hour of need, but words failed them, lost amidst the tangled web of emotions that bound them together. They shared a silent vow, a pledge to stand united in their quest for the truth, no matter the cost. The air in the room grew heavy with the unspoken tension, each breath drawn with effort as they grappled with the enormity of what lay before them. Thomas's mind raced with 1,000 possibilities, each more terrifying than the last, as he struggled to make sense of the chaos that threatened to engulf his family. He knew that they couldn't afford to ignore the warning signs any longer, that they had to confront the darkness head-on, no matter how daunting the task may seem. Jaime's eyes flickered with uncertainty, a flicker of fear dancing in their depths as he struggled to find the words to ease his father's concerns. Thomas's heart ached at the sight, a fierce protectiveness swelling within him as he vowed to do whatever it took to keep his son safe. He would not rest until the truth was uncovered and justice served, no matter the cost. Now Thomas was sure this teacher was doing something that made Jaime act this way, and he was going to get to the bottom of this. But how? The answer came from another concerned parent with a child in Jaime's class. Thomas and the other parent weren't going to back down. They needed to thoroughly plan their following actions. The other parent, a mother of 3, noticed something different with her youngest daughter. At first, she felt that it was normal. Perhaps it could be because she was a newcomer to their school. However, she felt convinced that something odd made her act that way. She knew she had to act on it fast. Their shared concern formed a bond between them, a shared determination to uncover the truth and protect their children at any cost. They pored over every detail, dissecting each conversation and interaction for any sign of wrongdoing, their minds racing with possibilities as they plotted their next move. Thomas felt a glimmer of hope stir within him, a spark of determination that refused to be extinguished as he realized he wasn't alone in this fight. As they shared their stories, a sense of solidarity washed over them, a shared understanding that they were all in this together. They may have come from different backgrounds, but their love for their children united them in a common cause. With renewed determination, they set their sights on the horizon, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in their quest for justice. Apparently, she had noticed a change in behavior with her daughter as well, and wanted to know if Thomas experienced something similar with Jaime. Obviously he did. They came together to talk about what was going on with their children and just what they should do about it. For the next couple of days, the two parents met to meticulously think about their following action plans. They knew they should be sure of all aspects of their goals, because a simple mistake would mean everything they worked hard for would be useless. Even both of their significant partners joined in planning all for their children. Together they formed a united front, a force to be reckoned with as they pooled their resources and knowledge in pursuit of the truth. Their determination burned bright, a beacon of hope in the darkness that threatened to consume them, as they vowed to stop at nothing to uncover the sinister forces at work in their children's lives. With each passing day, their resolve grew stronger, fueled by the unwavering love they held for their children and the burning desire to protect them from harm. They pored over every detail, leaving no stone unturned in their quest for answers as they prepared to confront the darkness that lurked in the shadows. Together they came up with a plan to figure out what this teacher was doing to or with their children. They had to be subtly, as they not only had to get an answer but also proof of what was happening. Their son and daughter didn't want to say anything, and Callum wasn't admitting to anything with either one. Of course, at the back of their minds, they gave him the benefit of the doubt. Even though they felt bad for their kids, many what-ifs popped into their minds. Most certainly, they wanted to be fair to the substitute teacher and their children. As they brainstormed, the weight of responsibility bore down on them, each passing moment adding to the urgency of their mission. They knew they couldn't afford to hesitate, their children's well-being hanging in the balance. With determination in their hearts, they vowed to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Their minds buzzed with ideas, each more elaborate than the last, as they plotted their next move. They pored over every detail, leaving no stone unturned in their quest for answers, their determination unwavering in the face of adversity. Together they formed a formidable team, united in their resolve to protect their children from harm. The solution Nicole, the other parent, came up with was to use a small recording device to catch the teacher red-handed. But where were they going to put it? They had to do it so that neither of the children would know about it, but they needed it to actually catch something happening. However, before doing so, they meticulously researched the laws of secretly recording, most especially with the involvement of minors in a school setting. Thankfully, one of the parents from their kids' class was a lawyer, so they sought help from her. Their discussions were intense, each point debated and analyzed with precision as they navigated the complexities of their plan. They knew they had to tread carefully, their every move scrutinized by those who sought to undermine them. With the weight of responsibility resting heavy on their shoulders, they steeled themselves for the challenges ahead. They planted a recording device inside Jaime's backpack. When he went to school the next day, they could hear everything that had happened. The backpack was the ultimate disguise for the recording device, so no one would get suspicious. It was a great plan, they thought. Hidden within his books, the recording device sounded great even though it was placed inside Jaime's big school bag. They just hoped and prayed that it wouldn't lose its connection nor be discovered by the young boy, or else their plans would be screwed. Their hearts pounded with anticipation as they set their plan into motion, each second ticking by agonizingly slow as they waited for the moment of truth to arrive. They knew they were taking a risk, but it was a risk they were willing to take to protect their children from harm. The recording device let him hear that Jaime was also struggling in some other areas, and he was certain Callum was to blame, but he wasn't quite sure what was happening. At least, not until Jaime walked into class with the substitute teacher, and they could hear everything. It pained Thomas and his wife's hearts when they heard their son's voice break when he said about his dilemma with the task in his math assignment. They never knew that their young boy had difficulty working on his math tasks on top of his other homework. Their minds raced with possibilities as they listened to the heartbreaking conversation unfold, each word like a dagger to the heart as they realized the extent of their son's suffering. With tears in their eyes and fire in their hearts, They vowed to put an end to the torment their child endured, no matter the cost. Callum started his class in the usual way. It did not seem like anything was going on. However, the entire class was quiet, like they did not dare speak to Callum. It was bizarre to Thomas that everyone would suddenly behave like that. This was different from the other classes. Then it happened. One of Jaime's friends asked Callum something, and his response shook Thomas. He couldn't believe what he had heard. Could he be mistaken for hearing another child's voice? Or was his son really saying that? You wouldn't believe what happened next. Thomas and Nicole threw down their headphones. They went to the school immediately and did not hesitate for a second. They had to confront Callum. This was not right. Thomas could barely contain himself. Nicole, on one hand, couldn't stop herself from shaking. They felt chills run through their veins the moment they heard Jaime and Callum's conversation. They thought twice because they couldn't believe it. All they could do was look at each other in disbelief and immediately run to the school without hesitation. What did they hear? Thomas jumped up from his seat. He was going to drive to the school. Thomas made sure he got a copy of the recording with him. He decided he would go to the headmaster first. That was the priority. The headmaster had the power to do something about this. He was the only one Thomas really trusted. Nicole, on the one hand, could muster the courage to drive herself to the school, so she rode with Thomas. She couldn't control her anxiety. Thankfully, she had her medicines with her. It acted quick, and she calmed down instantly. They continued with their drive to the school. Their minds raced with a mix of fear and determination as they sped towards the school, each passing moment bringing them closer to the confrontation that awaited them. They clung to each other for support, drawing strength from their shared resolve to protect their son at all costs. During the entire drive, they wondered how they should tell the headmaster about what was going on. Thomas was a bit nervous that not everything was recorded right. He did not listen to the recording back. Hopefully, he had everything on tape. Their first priority was to make sure Jaime would be safe. That was the only thing they could really think about. Nicole's daughter was sure in safe hands since she was with her other class friends. She was more relieved, but as a parent, she felt for Thomas and supported him all the way. The tension in the car was palpable, each heartbeat echoing the turmoil raging within their hearts as they contemplated the impending confrontation. They knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were determined to see it through to the end. Thomas quickly arrived at the school. He did not inform any of the other parents. He had to do this all by himself. He knew that what he had done was illegal, but it was for the well-being of his son. He was ready to be sent to jail if ever the need arose. That's how much he loved his son. Jaime is everything to him, and he would do anything to protect him at any cost. He then knocked on the headmaster's door. The principal was surprised to see Thomas by his door, and with the look on his face, he instantly knew that something was up. His heart pounded in his chest as he waited for the headmaster to answer, every second feeling like an eternity as he braced himself for the confrontation that awaited. He clenched his fists, steeling himself for whatever lay ahead, determined to see justice served and his son's safety ensured. The headmaster, Paul, was really confused. He couldn't fathom what could be causing such distress among Thomas and Nicole, respected parents within the school community. As they settled into his office, Paul noticed the palpable tension in the room. Thomas, visibly shaken, struggled to articulate the urgency of their visit. Sensing his agitation, Paul offered Thomas a glass of water, hoping to ease his nerves and facilitate communication. Despite his efforts, Thomas remained speechless, his mind undoubtedly consumed by the weight of their revelation. Nicole, sensing Thomas's struggle, stepped in to provide a detailed account of their experiences and concerns. Her calm demeanor juxtaposed Thomas's evident distress, but her words painted a stark picture of unsettling events within the school. Paul listened intently, his confusion giving way to a growing sense of alarm. The gravity of the situation became increasingly apparent. and Paul knew immediate action was necessary to address the unfolding crisis. Paul's mind raced with questions as he prepared to listen to the recording. He couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over him since Thomas and Nicole's arrival. As the recording played, Paul's heart sank with each revelation, each snippet of conversation confirming their worst fears. He listened intently, absorbing every detail, his thoughts consumed by the implications of what he was hearing. Realizing the severity of the situation, Paul understood that they couldn't afford to ignore the evidence before them. Despite his initial disbelief, he knew they had to confront the harsh reality head-on. With a heavy heart, Paul resolved to ensure justice was served, regardless of the challenges that lay ahead. Turning to Thomas and Nicole, he reassured them of his unwavering commitment to addressing the issue and safeguarding the well-being of the school community. Paul's demeanor shifted as he processed the implications of the recording. The weight of his responsibility as headmaster bore down on him, and he knew decisive action was imperative. Despite the legal complexities involved, Paul understood that they couldn't afford to delay. Taking a moment to collect his thoughts, Paul recognized the need for a thorough and discreet investigation. He cautioned Thomas against interference, emphasizing the importance of proceeding cautiously to ensure the integrity of the process. As he contemplated their next steps, Paul's resolve hardened. They had to confront Callum and address the issue head-on, but not without extending a sincere apology to Thomas and Nicole for the distress caused by the situation. Paul's apology to Thomas carried the weight of the school's accountability. He acknowledged the gravity of the situation and expressed profound regret for any lapse in addressing Callum's behavior sooner. It was clear that Paul's foremost concern was the safety and well-being of every child under the school's care. He reassured Thomas that the school's values dictated zero tolerance for such misconduct, and emphasized their commitment to upholding a safe learning environment for all students. Feeling the weight of responsibility, Paul recognized that they had reached a critical juncture that demanded swift and decisive action. Despite the regrettable delay, he was determined to navigate the situation with integrity and diligence. Cooperation between all parties involved would be crucial as they embarked on the necessary steps to address the issue and ensure accountability. Accompanied by Thomas, Paul approached Callum's classroom with a mix of resolve and trepidation. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on both men as they prepared to confront the substitute teacher. Thomas's palpable anger underscored the urgency of the moment, but Paul remained steadfast in his commitment to a measured and respectful approach. As they entered the classroom, Thomas's protective instincts surged, fueled by a father's fierce determination to safeguard his child. Every step closer to confronting Callum was a testament to Thomas's unwavering resolve to seek justice for his son and the entire school community. Despite his anger, Thomas understood the importance of allowing Paul to lead the conversation, trusting in his ability to navigate the delicate situation with professionalism and tact. Inside the classroom, Jaime's surprise at seeing his father was palpable, yet tinged with a hint of relief. His presence offered a glimmer of reassurance amid the turmoil. Paul's request to speak with Callum outside the classroom further heightened the tension, prompting a mix of confusion and apprehension from the substitute teacher. Callum's initial shock at the allegations gave way to a torrent of emotions as Paul recounted the evidence against him. His distress was evident, mirroring the disbelief shared by Thomas and Paul. Yet, as Callum attempted to explain himself, it became clear that there was more to the story than initially met the eye. Despite his efforts to maintain composure, Callum's anxiety was palpable, his future hanging in the balance as he grappled with the consequences of his actions. Uncertainty loomed large as he faced the daunting reality of potential repercussions for his career and reputation. Paul explained everything he heard to Callum. Callum was shocked. He did not know what to say at first. He looked like he wanted to cry. Thomas was surprised by this. Did Callum just not realize what he did? Callum started explaining himself to both men. At least he tried to. Callum started sweating buckets. He didn't know what was happening and couldn't prepare for what he should say. He tried to stay calm for his career and students' sake. However, he couldn't control his emotions. The substitute teacher was sure that this was the end of his career. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Callum began to comprehend the impact of his actions on the students and their families. He expressed genuine remorse and acknowledged his responsibility for his behavior. Thomas and Paul listened attentively, recognizing the sincerity in Callum's words. Despite the challenging circumstances, there was a glimmer of hope as Callum vowed to make amends and take corrective action. Paul assured Callum that the school would support him in this endeavor, provided he was committed to addressing his behavior and fostering a safe and nurturing environment for all students. Callum had treated the children disrespectfully, so they did not want to attend any of his classes. It was unfortunate that he did not know how to properly work with children. As a teacher, he was expected to learn how to respect his students regardless of their age and status. Callum kept stuttering. He had never worked with young kids before and treated them more like adults. All he knew was what he was doing was right. This was a huge lesson that he had to learn the hard way. Then the food came up. Amidst the confrontation, Callum's demeanor shifted from defiance to introspection. He realized the gravity of his actions and the impact they had on his students. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks, causing him to pause and reflect on his approach to teaching. Callum acknowledged his shortcomings and vowed to make amends for his behavior. However, he knew that earning back the trust of his students would not be easy. The realization that he had failed as a teacher weighed heavily on him, driving him to seek guidance and support. Callum resolved to undergo additional training and development to improve his skills and better serve his students in the future. Callum seemed surprised to learn about the remark on Jaime's lunch. He had no idea that it had gotten that far. He was astounded by this revelation. He thought, what else could go wrong? Callum had a clear explanation for that now that everything was on the table. Then suddenly, Jaime came in. He had mustered the courage to divulge everything. Initially apprehensive, he knew it was the right thing to do. But a significant problem was on its way that they should have foreseen. Jaime's entrance into the room caused a momentary silence as everyone turned their attention to him. His demeanor conveyed a sense of urgency, hinting at the gravity of the situation he was about to reveal. Thomas and Nicole exchanged concerned glances, silently urging Jaime to speak his truth. Despite his initial hesitation, Jaime found the strength to speak up, fueled by a sense of justice and the desire to protect his classmates. His words echoed in the room, punctuated by moments of raw emotion as he recounted his experiences. The weight of his disclosure hung heavy in the air, leaving a palpable tension as everyone processed the revelations. Everyone was caught off guard. Apparently, Thomas had already called the police. They appeared just in time when Jaime was about to speak up. The poor boy was both in a state of shock and desperation that he just wanted to escape the scene. Jaime told Paul and his dad that they had nothing to worry about. They were confused. They thought they were helping Jaime. But he had some things to say as well. He did not want to talk about it because it was too sensitive. The sudden arrival of the police injected a sense of urgency into the situation, prompting everyone to pause and reassess their next steps. Thomas and Nicole exchanged worried glances, unsure of how law enforcement would handle the delicate matter involving their son. Paul, the headmaster, maintained a composed demeanor as he coordinated with the officers, seeking to ensure a swift and appropriate resolution. Jaime's reluctance to divulge certain details hinted at the complexity of the situation and the emotional toll it was taking on him. Despite the uncertainty, the family remained united in their resolve to seek justice and protect their son. He started explaining that he worked together with Callum on something very important, and that it was for the good reason. That is why he did not want to talk to his parents about it. Thomas was now even more confused. He had to know everything. Neither of them didn't know where or how to start. It was heartbreaking for any parent to learn that their children had been mistreated. What's worse, by their teacher no less. Thomas and Nicole were furious. Paul, the headmaster, was speechless. Jaime's revelation about his collaboration with Callum sparked a whirlwind of emotions in the room. Thomas and Nicole exchanged puzzled glances, struggling to comprehend the nature of their son's involvement with the teacher. Paul, the headmaster, listened intently, his mind racing with questions and concerns about the implications of Jaime's disclosure. The realization that their son had been keeping secrets from them left Thomas and Nicole feeling a mix of frustration and concern. Despite their desire for answers, they understood the sensitivity of the situation and the need for patience in unraveling the truth. As they grappled with the shock of the revelation, they resolved to support Jaime unconditionally and guide him through the challenges ahead. In the meantime, the police arrived. They came in to ask questions as well. It was all a big mess. Thomas should have never called the police in the first place. Admittedly, that was a wrong move for Thomas. He should have sought the recommendation of the headmaster. It just made things worse. The arrival of the police added an additional layer of complexity to the situation. Their presence cast a shadow of apprehension over the already tense atmosphere in the room. Thomas regretted his decision to involve law enforcement without consulting the school authorities first. His impulsive action only served to escalate the conflict and complicate matters further. As the officers began their inquiries, Callum found himself reliving painful memories from his past. The trauma of his childhood resurfaced, triggering a flood of emotions that he struggled to contain. Despite his reluctance, Callum cooperated with the authorities, determined to provide them with the information they sought. This is when they could talk to Jaime, all by themselves. The kid had finally decided that he would tell the entire story about the lunch. He was hungry every day for a really good and wonderful reason, but he did not want to bother anyone. Jaime's reluctance to share his story stemmed from a desire to protect the dignity and privacy of the impoverished student he had been helping. His altruistic actions spoke volumes about his compassionate nature and empathy for others. Despite facing his own struggles, Jaime remained committed to making a positive difference in the life of his less fortunate classmate. As he recounted the events that led to his decision to give away his lunch, Jaime's voice wavered with emotion, revealing the depth of his compassion and selflessness. Thomas and Nicole listened intently, their hearts swelling with pride for their son's kindness and generosity. Jaime's actions served as a powerful reminder of the importance of empathy and compassion in a world often characterized by indifference and apathy. Jaime got very emotional when telling the story. One day, he came to school to see their terror teacher Callum helping another student in his class. Jaime asked Callum what was going on, and the teacher told him something that triggered everything. The encounter with Callum and the impoverished student left a profound impact on Jaime, challenging his preconceived notions and prompting him to reconsider his initial impression of the teacher. Callum's act of kindness revealed a side of him that Jaime had not seen before, prompting him to question his earlier judgment. As he reflected on the incident, Jaime realized the importance of empathy and understanding in fostering meaningful connections with others. His perspective shifted, allowing him to see beyond appearances and recognize the inherent value and dignity of every individual. Inspired by Callum's example, Jaime resolved to emulate his teacher's compassion and generosity in his own life. The experience served as a catalyst for personal growth and self-discovery, shaping Jaime's character and instilling within him a sense of empathy and compassion for others. The boy was very poor and never got lunch from his family. This was when Jaime told Callum he did not need his lunch and gave most of it away. He came up with a plan to tell everyone that Callum had thrown it away. Callum agreed he would take the blame. Jamie's decision to sacrifice his own lunch to help a less fortunate classmate was a testament to his compassionate and selfless nature. Despite facing his own challenges, he remained steadfast in his commitment to making a positive impact in the lives of others. Callum's willingness to support Jamie's plan underscored the depth of their bond and mutual respect for one another. Together, they devised a strategy to conceal their actions, prioritizing the well-being and dignity of the impoverished student. Their secret alliance served as a beacon of hope and solidarity in a world often characterized by division and indifference. As they navigated the complexities of their situation, Jaime and Callum forged a bond that transcended their roles as student and teacher, uniting them in a shared commitment to kindness and compassion. The boy named Scott needed to have the feeling that he was good without everyone looking weird at him. That is why Callum and Jaime decided to be discreet. They kept it a secret for a long time, until someone else in the class found out: the other child. Scott's situation tugged at the hearts of Callum and Jaime, motivating them to maintain secrecy to protect Scott's dignity and prevent him from feeling embarrassed or singled out. They understood the importance of preserving Scott's sense of self-worth and ensuring that he didn't face undue attention or scrutiny from their classmates. Despite the risk of their secret being discovered, Callum and Jaime remained steadfast in their commitment to supporting Scott and ensuring his well-being. Callum's decision to assume the role of the bad guy underscored his selflessness and willingness to sacrifice his reputation for the greater good. Jaime admired Callum's bravery and resolved to stand by him, knowing that their actions were driven by compassion and empathy. Everyone started to look at Callum in a different light. He had his reasons after all. The teacher may have had shortcomings of his own, but what he did was truly noble. No amount of respect and admiration could have been given to him. Callum's actions elicited a profound shift in the way he was perceived by his students and colleagues. Despite his initial reservations about Callum, Thomas acknowledged the depth of the teacher's compassion and the significance of his selfless deeds. Callum's willingness to put others' needs before his own exemplified his noble character and unwavering commitment to making a positive difference. As word spread about Callum's acts of kindness, the school community rallied behind him, offering support and admiration for his altruistic endeavors. Thomas felt a sense of pride knowing that his son had played a role in fostering positive change within their school environment. Jamie's parents decided to help the kid. Thomas made sure to pack Jaime 2 lunchboxes every day. Everyone was happy. The child never had to be hungry again, and Jaime felt like the absolute hero of the day. No one else got to know what was going on. Moved by Jamie's compassion and empathy, Thomas and his wife were inspired to extend their support to Scott. They ensured that he received a nutritious meal each day, alleviating his hunger and providing him with a sense of security. Jamie's actions not only transformed Scott's life, but also brought joy and fulfillment to his own. Thomas and his wife beamed with pride at their son's selflessness, recognizing the positive impact he had made on his classmates and the broader school community. With Scott's needs now met, Jaime felt a profound sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, knowing that he had made a tangible difference in someone's life.